Oh, we've got winter storm warnings up for parts of southern New Jersey, south into Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, and back to Kentucky. We also have winter storm warnings up across northern Kansas and a slew of winter storm watches. It's one of these rare times that we've got back to back winter storms, basically a day apart. But we'll make sense of it all tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which you can support so easily, so simply by using the referral link that is pinned to the top of the chat board or on the description to this podcast. It's very simple. You do your Amazon shopping via our referral link, and Amazon will throw us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. You get your stuff. Doesn't cost you one extra cent out of your own pocket. So the only effort you have to make is to click on the link. And we appreciate whatever effort you make to support us here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. So now, folks that were watching your wonderful presentation at the library presentation, which you did, are now back for another hour of well, no, not another hour. But
Please.
yes. So let me straighten it out. So, folks, that was intentionally dropped out because I was told that once he got to the Q&A that I needed to drop out because everybody would be coming up full screen on the Zoom. They didn't have everybody's permission to do that. So that's why it cut out as abruptly as it did. Okay, there was no technical issue. There was nothing. It just ended when Joe said, that concludes our presentation. So it's there. Just wanted to make that point.
And that was, it was circumstances beyond our control. We were told that Joe was told you got to cut out right at that moment, and that's what he did. So,
And I did it. I did it beautifully, I thought.
yeah.
It took a lot of talent for me to do that. All right. So anyway, we've got, Joe, I was trying to rack my head. I don't think I have ever done, maybe once, just to cover myself. But I actually had to do two early call snow forecast maps at the same time because of what we have going on tomorrow and what we have going on Wednesday night.
That's pretty amazing that they're back. They're so close to each other in proximity to each other that you have one, and then all of a sudden, no sooner you're done with one, you have another one coming the very same day. In essence.
And by the way, the Saturday system, New York City and Long Island got more snow than just about everybody.
This coming Saturday.
This past Saturday, the event this past Saturday.
Yeah,
3 to 5 inches across Long Island and New York City, and the bigger amounts that were supposed to be up in the middle and upper Hudson Valley, they were also basically in the 3 to 5 inch range. The 6, 7, and 8 inch amounts never materialized.
The thing about that was that from the moment we went off the air on Saturday through the rest of the day and into Saturday evening, I'm getting pinged on Messenger from people who live in the Hudson Valley saying basically, how come so-and-so is going up to 8 or 9 inches of snow and you're not going all that much? How come you're always lower than everybody else? How come blah, 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 blah. And as it turned out, I got only a shade under 4 inches.
Right.
And many places up north got maybe 3, 4, 5 inches. I didn't see anybody who got 8 or 9 inches out of this.
No, nobody did. Nobody did. Actually, I was in a wholesale panic in the afternoon because I saw the NAM. The NAM had all rain, not just for Long Island and for New York City, but for northern New Jersey all the way up past you, north of 84. All rain, no snow, nothing.
Yeah.
And it was the only model that did it. And I've said that model is squirrely, and it was squirrely. I found myself actually hanging on a thread with the HRRR, which was basically every hour was consistent. I was like, okay, it's 5 hours to go. This is around the time where the HRRR changes and takes all the snow away, but it never did. It actually That and the European were probably the two best performing models for the Saturday system. All right, so we have a chance for some snow tomorrow night, and we also have a chance for some snow Wednesday night. As The next storm system right behind this one is going to go up to the Great Lakes, and we're going to get a little bit of a front end thump. Not a lot of a front end thump, just a quick front end thump. But after that, I think the weather pattern longer range gets I mean, as active as it is, not that it's not interesting now, but I think it could get, I mentioned last week the way the upper air is shaping up, that somewhere along the line we have the potential for something of size to pop up somewhere. And I'm still on that. I still believe that. It's nothing this week, but I think in the not too distant future, we may be talking about something of size somewhere.
Well, what I impressed me was the fact that how much colder it's going to be getting here at this time next week. That next Monday, which is President's Day, I went on my Facebook page, forecast Joe, for temperatures not getting out of the 20s, and that's pretty cold compared to even what we're seeing now. And later on this week and into the weekend, we'll see temperatures backing up to the 40-degree range, and that shot of cold air that's coming in for the start of next week really is going to feel cold as compared to what we're experiencing now and what we will be experiencing in the coming days ahead.
All right, so let's roll through this just very quickly. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board. I know some of you have been on since 7 o'clock with when Joe did his separate library presentation and I presented it up as a podcast here. So glad that you're staying for both shows. Subscribe to if you're lurking in the background. Glad to have you here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm going on. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button so Joe you didn't to ring the bell for the library presentation. He got to 100 likes. They wanted you to ring the bell.
But I didn't. Now I see right now we have 44.
Yes, but your library podcast that I did got to over
Oh,
100 likes.
oh, I didn't realize that. Ringy dingy dingy. Ding 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 ding.
All right. So I know you probably didn't have. Did you have any time to look at anything today or no?
Oh yeah, well I looked at it this afternoon,
Oh,
and
okay.
my feelings is that we're going to see the first snow flakes begin to fall across parts of the lower Hudson Valley between about 6 and 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. I actually think, Joe, that whatever snow that does fall will be over with, at least in the local area, the lower Hudson Valley, before daybreak on Wednesday morning. And I'm thinking that temperatures are going to be cold enough for it to be a flat out straight snow event. I don't think we have to worry too much about any kind of mixing with this particular event. And what I said was, for places south of Interstate 287, I was thinking along the lines of 1 to maybe 3 inches, and points north of 287, a coating to maybe an inch or two. It's kind of a diffuse or amorphous thing. I wasn't looking at so much a sharp cutoff as to where the snow was going to end, and I think it'll come better into focus tonight, and especially so tomorrow. But right now, I wasn't going to completely eliminate the possibility that even I, for example, who live just over the Westchester Putnam line, would not see anything. I mentioned that there was a chance, but I don't expect to break out the snowblower tomorrow night or Wednesday morning. But it's not going to be all that much. But we'll see how this all pans out.
Well, I have my early call map that I did yesterday, where I basically had it traced into northern Westchester, and into north and west of 287 in New Jersey. I really didn't show much of anything, and I've got the inch line across the north shore of Long Island to New York City, just south of Route 78. I've got 2 inches along the south shore coming into northern Monmouth County, and going to Mercer County in New Jersey, and then from Central Ocean County southward into extreme southeast Pennsylvania, actually right to the Delaware state line, the Delaware Pennsylvania state line. I went. That's where my 4-inch line, and I'm thinking for that part of southern New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, northern Virginia, and to West Virginia, there's probably going to be an area of 4 to maybe 6 inches. So that would be for the Washington D.C., for Baltimore. Those folks will get to the top of this. Now, I could certainly make a case from what I saw during today that I could wind up nudging these numbers up tomorrow morning, depending on what model you looked at. So, but for now, I felt pretty comfortable with this. And since we're up to early calls, this is what I did for Wednesday, which, again, this is going to be more of a front end type thing. I thought maybe there could be an inch or two for the northern half of New Jersey into western Long Island, and maybe 2 inches or a little bit more going up the Hudson Valley, get up into Dutchess County from there, central Dutchess County northward, 3, maybe 4 inches. But it doesn't look to me like it's going to be. It's not like somebody's going to get a 6 to 8 inch thump out of this in eastern Pennsylvania, southern New England, even in upstate New York, because the warm air is going to fight the colder air that's going to be here Wednesday, but eventually it's going to start rushing northward. So especially aloft. So I just don't think there's enough here to produce anything more than what I put down here on my map.
The Wednesday night, Thursday storm, actually, it'll probably be all over said and done by midday or late morning on Thursday. But it's going to be tough because I agree with you. Initially, it's going to be a snow event, but I also foresee a prolonged period of sleet and ice and maybe even a complete changeover before the end to just plain rain. That's going to be really tough to get rid of on the day on Thursday if that pans out. We also have to think about maybe enough warm air advection over the cold ground and whatever snow cover still is out there, producing fog, which may actually help in eating away some of that snow. But still, a really messy Thursday morning commute. The Wednesday commute is going to be problematic, especially if for places I think south of Interstate 287 down into New York and portions of northern New Jersey. But really, a problem will be the Thursday event, where we could be looking at again just absolute messy conditions with an initial shot of an inch or 2 or 3 of snow. Then you place some ice and sleet and whatever on top of that, plus rain. What a mess! What an absolute mess!
Yeah. Winter storm warnings are up for the southern New Jersey counties, Atlantic and Cape May County. Also for Delaware, for Maryland, the whole Delmarva Peninsula under a winter storm warning. Just about all of Virginia except the southeast, all of West Virginia except the northwest, much of central and central and northeastern Kentucky, advisories in the southern half, and also advisories in southern Ohio, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and southern Missouri. Now, on the other side of that is the second system, which with a west track is going to bring snow from Kansas northeastward to the lower Great Lakes. So we've got winter storm watches up for much of Kansas, except the northern part of the state, which is already under a warning. Also, the northwestern part of Missouri, southeastern Iowa, northern Illinois, including Chicago, and Milwaukee and southeast Wisconsin. And around the bend of the southern end of Lake Michigan and onto the Michigan side, where we have winter storm watches up for, let's call it much of the southern half of the state. The beautiful blue color that you see across the Dakotas, I just like that color blue. Don't ask me why. But anyway, it covers northern South Dakota, all of North Dakota, much of Montana. That's an extreme cold warning, cold weather warning. Okay. And we've also got winter storm watches up in the Sierra Nevadas. More snow there. And I think that purple is all freeze. Is it all freeze? Yeah, all freeze warnings. So California's kind of gone the circle here. They were basically on fire. And now they've got heavy snows in the Sierra Nevadas, and they're dealing with freezes as cold air comes down into the western part of the United States. In fact, the light blue in Oregon, Washington State, that's all cold weather advisories that they have up there. So let's look at what's going on satellite wise. We'll get to look at the new NAM, Joe. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
So um, we can already see the subtropical jet from the Pacific is sort of streaming. Well, when my loop starts to move again because it's stuck. There we go. That moisture streaming up into Texas and Oklahoma, Missouri, high clouds pushing in almost to the Appalachians. One thing I noticed, Mr. Rayo, is the fact that when you look at what's going on in the upper air, I mean, there's just this incredibly fast west to east flow. And once again, when you're really just talking about a stalled frontal boundary with a flat little wave that moves out. You get overrunning, but the thing is, with that straight jet like that, it's going to go pretty much to the east and not. The snow's going to get only so far north. This is another instance of a low that can't climb because there's no Atlantic traffic to force it to climb.
Well, we said that back on Saturday. We said that for all the snow lovers, all the winter weather weenies that were getting excited about the Saturday night snow event, that the thing that was the drawback was the speed. The speed of these systems have been exceptional. The great snowstorms, the ones that have dropped, 12 plus inches on the tri state area, are the ones that are affiliated with slow moving upper troughs or even troughs that have closed off into an upper low. And that slows everything down. But when you have basically not quite a zonal flow, but when you got a flow like what we have had in recent days, you got these little waves that are on this flow, and they just zip. They zip right through. They're here and they're gone within 6 hours. And unless you've got, and as we said this on Saturday, unless you're going to get 1 to 2 inches an hour, you're not going to get the big heavy snowfall. Generally speaking, you get a half to maybe an inch per hour. It generally translates into 3 to 6 inches, which is what we had on Saturday. So you just simply cannot get a whole heck of a lot when you have the flow so very very fast.
Yep. And that's going to actually change. Uh, that is actually going to change down the road. And we'll get to that. Meanwhile, the radar's starting to load up a bit. We're getting some snow breaking out in central Illinois. There's quite a bit of rain in northern Arkansas, back to Oklahoma, over into Tennessee. Some of that rain's going to get to me. Just going to go back to the watches map. We've got flood watches up for North Georgia and eastern Tennessee. Uh, Over the course of the next week or so, rain here is going to be pretty substantial. Also in northwest Louisiana, and here, in fact, WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, that is, basically 5 inches or more of rain over the next 7 days from northeast Louisiana across the northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, western Tennessee, western North Carolina, eastern and central Tennessee, and into southeastern Kentucky. On the northern edge, you got 1.5 to 2 inches going all the way up to coastal Maine, and of course, some of that's going to be frozen. And back over to the Great Lakes, we're looking at 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, and in some cases, an inch of liquid plus. Much of that is going to be in the form of snow, and that extends up through the St. Lawrence Valley. Big precip amounts up and down the California coast of several to as much as 6 inches, and also 6 inches or more of melted precip in the Sierra Nevadas, where they're going to see rain. So, since we are here at a time when we're getting the new NAM, and let's see, WCBS News Time, Joe, is 8:47, so the NAM has just begun. So we're going to have to come back to the NAM. But we do have Le Plumes. So let's see what Le Plumes are doing for tomorrow. SREF, thank you. These are the mean snowfall amounts, and they were kind of going up today. So I wanted to see if they trend continues. So the SREF, the SREF has been kind of funny lately. It's been um, it's hit a couple of home runs in the last 2 weeks. So it's showing about 2 to 3 inches for across Long Island and in New Jersey, south of Route 80 and north of Route 78, showing almost 5 at Tom's River and almost 5 at Vineland. And it's got the one Joe. It's got the whoops. I lost it there. Let's go to 48. It's got to the southern edge of Putnam County. It has 1 inch. Only 3/10 at Poughkeepsie. So that's Le Plumes, and then if you add the next thing, it doesn't really show much with the next thing. So actually, just fractions of an inch. So we'll see what happens when for Wednesday night and Thursday when we get a little closer what the Le Plumes uh, show us. And in the meantime, since we're going to wait for the NAM anyway, we'll just go back to the GFS and take a look at what's happening here. So again, you got this stalled frontal boundary to the south. So cold air to the north, warm air to the south, beautiful overrunning. There goes the snow. We get clipped by it from southern New England, the southern New England coast and points southward to the Delmarva Peninsula and then back west into Kentucky. That's who's going to get this. The snow's going to the snow will be tomorrow night, should be done by daybreak. And then the next low right behind it is a little more vigorous. This is Joe. This is very much like what we had on Saturday, but the difference is that we have a primary that goes up into northeast Ohio and just keeps going. There is some secondary development, but primary is just going to be too strong and get even stronger as it heads up the St. Lawrence Valley. So um, you get that thump on the front end that spreads up into New England, and then it changes over to rain, and then it ends.
As I said before, I think whatever we get probably will be arriving here Wednesday evening, but will be pretty well over with by midday or late morning on Thursday. So, once again, a relatively fast flow, a relatively fast system, and I don't know. It looks like, yeah, initially it starts off as snow, but then we have that changeover, even up in northern sections, to sleet, ice, and even just plain rain before it ends early on Thursday.
And we do also have an interesting system for the weekend here, and that's marking the leading edge of some very cold air. And I'm kind of I'm going to want to see how the models evolve in all of this because there's a front that's approaching, then there's a wave that develops on the front that's going to basically sweep out the cold air. On paper, at the moment, it looks like it's mostly rain that maybe ends as a little bit of snow, and then it turns very cold for Sunday and the first part of next week. And then down the road, Joe, I think there's some chances here for something at the end of next week. Both the European and the GFS are kind of pointing at this. Now, we're going to go through a phase where it's going to be there and then it's not going to be there. But the upper air is pretty dynamic. I was very impressed with the upper air, the setup last week showing up in the long range, and now of course it's gotten 7 days closer. Look at that big block, the blocking that's across all of the Arctic from Greenland back over to Siberia, and that's just going to force the jet pretty far south. And these troughs in the east, I think, are something to pay attention to. Go into going forward in the long range, like going into President's Day weekend and beyond. I think there's things going on here in the upper atmosphere that suggest that something is going to happen of size someplace in the eastern part of the United States. That's
Yeah, I would
again, this
agree.
is down the road.
I would agree. I mean, it's a fast moving pattern, but it's also a lot of volatility involved. And again, when you got a block like what you just pointed out, that certainly could loan itself to creating some phase of nastiness, maybe not in the immediate future, but sometime down the road. And we're just going to have to watch and see how it all evolves.
Yeah, and there's also more ridging in the west which I mean we've had some ridging in the west, but it's been with it's been more these like these split ridges where the southern part of the ridge is kind of flat and then just the northern part pops up. But we're starting to see that western ridge pop up, from bottom to top all the way. And even as one ridge pulls out, another one pulls in right behind it. So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of complications to all of this when we get to between now and then. But it's a very wintry, it's a very wintry pattern. It really is, and I would say that this probably could hold on for much of the rest of the month. If looking at some of the climate models and some of the other indicators that are out there.
And this is a big, big, well, I was going to say a black eye for Climate Prediction Center. I mean, after all we're not even halfway through the month yet, but they said that February would be a mild month. They said that not only with their uh, month-long forecast, but also for their experimental 3 to 4 week forecast. They kept pointing toward milder temperatures, but I don't see it. I really don't. And now their forecasts are saying or suggesting that we're going to have that continued spell of cold weather right on through much of the balance of the month of February.
Yes. Adam Lowe pointing out that yes, we are going into phases 8, 1, and 2 for the probably for the next 2 weeks. But I'm just going to point out to you because this is like your fixation. Okay, so I understand that. But uh, I understand that actually phase 3 going into phase 4 is a big snowstorm producer in the for New York. Just so you know, among other things, and also it seems kind of funny that while we were in phases 8, 1, and 2 in January, we saw hardly anything, and most of the snow that we've seen this winter has actually fallen during the supposed quote blowtorch phase, which is phase 6. So if that's your only forecast tool, uh, I think you need to start looking at other things along with that. So anyway, just putting that out there. I don't know, Joe. I'm kind of. Are you tired? You got to be tired.
Am I tired?
Are you tired, run down,
I,
listless? Do you poop out at parties? Are
oh
you
no,
unpopular?
I'm popular.
Right. Well,
Yeah, it is. It's
I'm kind of tired too because I've been at it since 5 this morning. So, all right. So far, the NAM. So this is only till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. With the snow into Western Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Southern Ohio, still dry here in the eastern part of the U.S. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry, folks. I had a I had to stream the library talk, and now doing a show afterwards. This is usually getting to the point that it's my bedtime. Uh, s- but anyway, let's look at a couple of other maps in the meantime. The folks at WPC, good God, I hate this. WPC, please bring back the maps on the 48 and 72 hour for 2, 4, and 6 inches. 'Cause this one really annoys me. Signed, yours truly. So thank you. So this is the probability for at least 1 inch for Wednesday night. And you can see it cuts across northern New Jersey to over New York City's where the 50% line is, and through southern Connecticut. Again, this is going to be a bit of a front end thump, but I don't expect it to be a huge deal. And then we've got, let me see if we can get this. So this is the one for tomorrow. So this is ending. So this is the probability for at least 1 inch ending 12Z 12th. Okay, thank you. So I can lock it in there. So we're looking at actually fairly high probability up to just north of New York City and just about to Route 80 in New Jersey, where you're going to for at least an inch, and 80% or more southern half of New Jersey, and of course down in Virginia, you're looking at 100%. If we switch over to the probability for at least two, we have the 50% line, almost at New York City and the South Shore of Long Island, Joe. 50% probability for at least two. That's usually where I would put the 2 inch line and where the 50% line is. I've gotten good success with that. And you can see the probabilities again across Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, West Virginia. And the probability for at least four is southernmost New Jersey, 50% or higher, Delaware, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Fredericksburg, um, uh, Charlotte's, Charlottesville. Did I get that right? Charlottesville, Virginia?
I think so.
Yes, thank you. Elkins in West Virginia, all that area. That's all the whole area that's under a winter storm warning. And in the long range, this is for Sunday into Monday. We're looking at you got WPC's got 10 to 30% for at least three, going all the way down to southern New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, and West Virginia, which I thought was kind of aggressive. But they got 30 to 50% in the Hudson Valley and Northwest New Jersey. So this would be Sunday into Monday with the system from the weekend.
I would have thought that we were going to see a lot more in the way of rain with that weekend system. I mean, admittedly, there may be on the front side there'll be some snow at the very beginning, but I would have put more of an emphasis on rain as opposed to snow or even ice.
I'm sorry, Joe. I blew my nose there. What was the last part of what you said?
I said I would have put more emphasis on, instead of snow, I would put more emphasis on rain as opposed to snow or even ice, because that's 'cause the front the back edge of the really cold air that's going to follow in on this is still holding back some. So I don't
Gotcha.
know. I would have thought
I kind of thought a few days ago going into the weekend that maybe the front would kind of try to come through and that there'd be one last wave that goes by. Doesn't quite look like that right now, but on the other hand, I could see how it might turn into that. If it's going to do that, we're probably going to have to start seeing it on runs showing up for tomorrow. You know what, folks? I'm sorry because I'm really kind of losing it, and I know Joe is tired. So this is as far out as we've got with the NAM, which is now taking us to 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, where it should be snowing in Delaware, in Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, much of Southwest PA, and then it's just going to go northeast from there. If we look at the old NAM run, which I will just take you to, it's been fairly consistent. I was kind of hoping we'd get the new one by the time uh, you know your show was done, and then getting on with this one. But you can see that the NAM does clip the Long Island and New Jersey. No, we could let's look at the HRRR, because that should the 0Z is done, so we can look at the HRRR, and that'll take us through the whole thing. So here's the HRRR, and all through the day, the HRRR has been keeping the snow mostly south of New York City. Now it actually brings it over to New York City and Long Island briefly before it slides it out to the east. So it's trying to come a little bit further to the north with the others. But look, there's really not much upside here with this because we're on the edge. And without this system climbing northward, you're not going to be able to get into the solid moisture that's down in South Jersey and points southward.
I agree. And on
Good.
that note, why don't we just simply
Yes.
say that we're signing off now, and we'll be back tomorrow night. And when we're back tomorrow night, it could very well be snowing in portions of our viewing area.
And that will be exciting. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night. Have a good one. And if you were late to this show, go look at the earlier podcast so you could see Joe's presentation that he did. What was the library?
It was the Warner Library in Terrytown, the Putnam Valley Library, right here in Putnam Valley, my hometown, and a couple of others, which I'm, it's over the top of my head at this
I
moment.
got you. All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow night. Bye bye.